gripped the steering wheel tightly, my heart pounding in my chest. The night swallowed everything, engulfing the road in a shroud of darkness. There was an eerie silence, broken only by the sound of my car's engine. I was driving alone on a desolate highway, surrounded by dense woods. The only source of light came from my headlights, piercing through the blackness like a beacon. The road stretched ahead, disappearing into the unknown. As I drove deeper into the night, an unsettling feeling washed over me. Shadows danced along the edges of my vision, their elongated forms swaying in the periphery. I shook my head, trying to dismiss the creeping unease. But then, I saw something. A flicker of movement in the distance. I squinted, trying to make out what it was. Was it a figure? My heart skipped a beat as the silhouette of a person emerged from the darkness, standing motionless in the middle of the road. I slammed on the brakes, my car screeching to a halt. Fear gripped me, freezing my limbs in place. The figure remained still, its presence hauntingly mysterious. I could feel its gaze boring into my soul. Summoning all my courage, I rolled down the window and called out to the person. "Hello, are you okay?" My voice trembled, barely audible in the vast expanse of night. No response. The figure stood there, ominously silent. Panic seeped into my thoughts as I contemplated my next move. Should I turn around and flee? Or should I confront this unknown entity head-on? As I pondered, another sound reached my ears. A soft, eerie laughter carried by the wind. It chilled me to the bone, sending shivers cascading down my spine. I could feel the malevolence emanating from the figure, its intent malicious and unforgiving. Suddenly, the figure began to move. Slowly at first, then with increasing speed. It dashed toward my car, its form twisted and distorted, defying logic and reality. Panic overcame me, and I desperately fumbled for the ignition, praying that my car would start. The engine roared to life just as the figure reached the car. I slammed my foot on the gas pedal, propelling the vehicle forward. The figure lunged, its gnarled fingers brushing against the back of my car as I sped away. My heart raced as I drove, adrenaline coursing through my veins. I dared not look back, afraid of what I might see. The road continued, winding through the darkened forest like a gateway to hell. Hours passed, and the night slowly surrendered to the dawn. The world brightened, casting away the nightmarish darkness. I breathed a sigh of relief, grateful to have survived the ordeal. But even in the light of day, the memory of that terrifying encounter lingers. A reminder that sometimes the road to darkness is just a turn away. The night was draped in a thick, impenetrable darkness as I embarked on a long and solitary drive. Rain battered against my windshield, casting eerie shadows that danced on the road ahead. The solitude was suffocating, and a chill crept up my spine, an omen of the terrors that awaited me on this forsaken stretch of highway. With every mile, the rain intensified, forming an impenetrable curtain that obscured my vision. I strained to see through the deluge, my knuckles turning white as I clung to the steering wheel. The rhythmic sound of raindrops pounding on the roof created an eerie symphony, heightening my unease. A flicker of unease swept over me as I passed a dilapidated sign, its once bold letters now barely visible through the storm. "Beware the night road," it warned, a cryptic message that sent shivers down my spine. Yet I pressed on, dismissing the sign as a mere relic of forgotten caution. As the minutes stretched into hours, fatigue gnawed at my consciousness. The repetitive hum of the engine merged with the patter of raindrops, lulling me into a drowsy stupor. My eyelids grew heavy, threatening to surrender to the darkness that enveloped the night. Suddenly, a flash of movement caught my attention. A figure on the side of the road, drenched and hunched over. My heart skipped a beat, and adrenaline surged through my veins. Against my better judgment, I pulled over, my instincts urging me to offer aid to the stranded stranger. As I approached, a sickening dread settled over me. The figure remained shrouded in darkness, only the glint of eyes visible. Their voice was a whisper, carried on the wind, chilling me to the core. "Please," the figure begged. "I need a ride." My rational mind screamed at me to flee, to resist the temptation. But an inexplicable force compelled me to relent, to open the passenger door and invite the stranger inside. As they settled beside me, the car became steeped in an oppressive aura, suffocating me with its malevolence. A conversation ensued, one filled with vague answers and unsettling silence. The stranger's eyes never left the road, darting between the windshield and the side mirrors. My unease grew with every passing moment, my instincts warning me that something was dreadfully wrong. In a moment of desperate courage, I glanced at the rearview mirror, only to find an empty back seat. The realization struck me like a bolt of lightning. I was alone in the car. Panic clawed at my chest, threatening to consume me whole. As my grip tightened on the steering wheel, I sensed a sinister smile curling across the stranger's lips. A cold voice, devoid of human warmth, slithered from their mouth. "Welcome to the night road," they hissed, their form flickering and morphing in the dim glow of the dashboard lights. My blood turned to ice as the truth unfurled before me. The stranger was no human being but a malevolent entity that preyed on lost souls. With a sudden surge of supernatural strength, the entity lunged at me, its touch an icy grip on my throat. The car careened off the road, hurtling towards the abyss of the night. Desperate, I fought against the suffocating grasp, gasping for air as the world spun into chaos. In a moment of desperation, I called upon reserves of strength I didn't know I possessed. With one final surge of willpower, I wrestled free from the entity's clutches, sending it recoiling into the darkness. The car skidded to a halt, teetering precariously on the edge of an embankment. Trembling and disoriented, I staggered out of the car, gasping for the sweet taste of freedom. The rain had ceased, revealing a desolate road that stretched into infinity. I had survived the horrors of the night road, but the echoes of that otherworldly encounter lingered within me, etched into the very fabric of my being. Now, when the night descends, I can still hear the faint whispers, a reminder that evil lingers in the darkest corners of our world. The desolate road remains a haunting memory, an encounter that forever changed the course of my existence. And though I continue to drive beneath the moonlit sky, I forever remain vigilant, for the night road may one day beckon me again, and I must be prepared to resist its seductive call. I drove alone on a moonless night, the blackness swallowing the road ahead. The hum of the engine was the only companion as I ventured into the abyss. My headlights pierced the darkness, illuminating the empty stretch of highway. As I continued, an eerie sensation crawled up my spine. A gust of wind rattled my windows, and a chill enveloped me, despite the warm air. I glanced in my rearview mirror, catching a glimpse of something. My heart quickened its pace. There, standing on the side of the road, was a hitchhiker. His appearance was shrouded in darkness, making it impossible to discern his face. Fear gripped me, but compassion urged me to stop. Against my better judgment, I pulled over. The hitchhiker approached the car, his movements slow and deliberate. I noticed a peculiar silence surrounding him. No footsteps echoed on the asphalt. He opened the door and climbed in without a word. I hesitated, unsure of my decision. "Where are you headed?" I asked, my voice trembling. He turned to face me, and in the dim light, I caught a glimpse of his ghostly visage. His eyes were hollow, devoid of life. A haunting smile crept across his face as he whispered, "Take me to where it all ended." A shiver ran down my spine as I realized I had stumbled upon something supernatural. Fear urged me to drive away, to leave this phantom behind. But curiosity got the better of me. I adjusted my grip on the steering wheel and set off into the unknown. The road twisted and turned, leading us deeper into the night. Shadows danced on the edges of my vision, and whispers echoed through the cabin. I dared not look at my passenger, afraid of what I might see. Suddenly, the hitchhiker pointed to a desolate crossroads up ahead. "Stop here," he commanded, his voice laden with an otherworldly authority. I complied, my heart pounding in my chest. As I brought the car to a halt, the atmosphere changed. The air grew thick with malevolence, and an icy breeze pierced through the cracked windows. The hitchhiker stepped out, his figure fading into the darkness. Before disappearing completely, he turned to me and whispered, "Remember, not all who wander are lost." With those haunting words lingering in the air, he vanished. Trembling, I tried to make sense of what had just transpired. As I drove away, a feeling of unease clung to me like a second skin. Days turned into weeks, and the encounter with the phantom hitchhiker haunted my thoughts. I searched for answers, diving deep into local legends and folklore. It was then I discovered a chilling tale. Long ago, a tragic accident had occurred at the very crossroads the hitchhiker had guided me to. A young couple, lost in the night, had met their untimely end there. Their spirits forever roamed the darkened lanes, seeking solace in unsuspecting drivers. From that day on, I vowed never to drive alone at night. The phantom hitchhikers and ghostly turns had taught me a chilling lesson. The road is not always what it seems, and the shadows hold secrets best left undisturbed. I took a deep breath as I gripped the steering wheel, preparing for another long night on the roads. The title, Roads of Despair, Heart-Pounding Nighttime Driving Nightmares, seemed like a fitting description of what awaited me. The dimly lit highway stretched ahead, engulfed in darkness and uncertainty. I had heard the rumors about this treacherous road, tales of mysterious disappearances and eerie encounters. But I needed to reach my destination, so I pushed my fears aside and ventured into the unknown. As the clock struck midnight, my car's headlights pierced through the blackness, illuminating the desolate surroundings. Shadows danced in the periphery, casting strange shapes on the asphalt. Each passing mile felt heavier, as if the weight of my fears was pressing down upon me. Suddenly, a dense fog crept in, swallowing everything in its path. My heart began to race, pounding in my chest like a war drum. My visibility dwindled, and the sound of my own breathing filled the suffocating silence. Navigating through the thick mist became a nightmare. Every turn felt uncertain, each decision a leap of faith. My eyes strained to catch any glimpse of the road ahead, praying to avoid any unexpected obstacles or creatures lurking in the darkness. The wind howled, whispering secrets only the night knew. Unfamiliar noises echoed through the fog, making me question my sanity. Was it just the wind or something more sinister? Then a figure appeared in the distance. My heart skipped a beat, my eyes widening with terror. It was a hitchhiker, standing motionless on the side of the road. In the darkness, I couldn't discern their face or intentions. Every fiber of my being screamed at me to drive past, but curiosity got the better of me. I slowed down and cautiously rolled down the window. A cold gust of wind blew through the car, chilling me to the bone. The hitchhiker's voice, barely audible, reached my ears, sending shivers down my spine. "Beware," they whispered, their words laden with anguish. "The road leads to despair. Turn back while you still can." Fear gripped me like a vice. Should I listen to their warning? But the urgency of my journey propelled me forward. Ignoring the warning, I sped away, leaving the hitchhiker behind in the darkness. As the night wore on, the road twisted and turned like a serpent. It seemed to taunt me, its asphalt jaws ready to swallow me whole. Shadows flickered in my peripheral vision, mocking my desperation to escape this nightmarish journey. Suddenly, my headlights revealed a broken-down vehicle up ahead. Panic surged through me, for I knew the stories of stranded travelers falling prey to malevolent forces. But I couldn't ignore their plight. I stopped to offer help, my hands trembling as I approached. The car stood silent, its interior swallowed by darkness. I called out, my voice barely a whisper. No response. I peered inside, only to find an empty seat, devoid of any signs of life. A chill ran down my spine as I realized I was not alone. A presence filled the air, suffocating me with its malevolence. It wrapped around me like a haunting melody, suffusing my mind with unspeakable horrors. I stumbled back, my heart pounding, as a spectral figure materialized before me. It exuded an otherworldly aura, its eyes burning with a wicked gleam. I sprinted back to my car, fueled by sheer terror. The specter pursued me relentlessly, its haunting wails echoing through the night. My hands fumbled for the car keys, my heart racing faster than ever before. With a desperate twist of the ignition, the engine roared to life, and I sped away, leaving the apparition behind. The remaining miles blurred together, my mind a haze of fear and adrenaline. Finally, I glimpsed the lights of civilization, a beacon of safety in the distance. Relief washed over me, as if I had narrowly escaped the clutches of hell itself. The roads of despair had tested my resolve, shattered my peace, and left an indelible mark on my soul. The nightmares of that night would forever haunt me, a reminder of the darkness that lurked beneath the surface of our reality. As I reached my destination, I vowed never to venture on those forsaken roads again. For those who dared to traverse them would face their own heart-pounding nighttime driving nightmares, trapped forever in the clutches of despair. I was driving late at night on a desolate highway. The road stretched ahead, disappearing into the darkness. The only light came from my car's headlights, piercing through the night's shroud. As I pressed on the gas pedal, a sense of unease crept over me. The air felt heavy, and a chill ran down my spine. It was as if I had entered another realm, beyond the reach of the living. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the mist, standing in the middle of the road. Panic seized me, and I slammed on the brakes, screeching to a halt. The figure was cloaked in a tattered, ghostly veil, barely visible in the dim light. Fear consumed me as the figure glided towards my car. Its pale face was distorted, twisted in anguish. Its eyes, hollow and lifeless, bore into my soul. A voice, cold and distant, echoed in my mind. "Join us, beyond the veil." Terrified, I tried to reverse, but my car refused to budge. Sweat poured down my face as the figure drew closer. The temperature plummeted, and a mournful wind whistled through the air. Suddenly, other figures materialized, surrounding my car. They were all veiled specters, moaning in despair. Desperation gripped me as I fumbled for my phone, hoping for a shred of connection to the outside world. But the screen remained blank, devoid of any signal. Their bony hands pressed against my windows, leaving icy imprints. Their haunting wails filled the night, drowning out my frantic pleas for help. I was trapped, entangled in their spectral web. One by one, the specters began to disappear, fading back into the darkness. A sliver of hope flickered within me, but it was short-lived. In the distance, I heard the sound of an engine approaching. A massive truck, its headlights blazing, hurtled towards me, its driver oblivious to my plight. With a sickening crash, the truck collided with my car, shattering the glass and crushing metal. Darkness consumed me. I awoke, disoriented and battered inside the mangled wreckage. The night had grown still, devoid of the haunting presence that had plagued me. My body ached, but relief washed over me as I realized I had escaped the clutches of those tormented souls. As I crawled out of the wreckage, a realization dawned upon me. The veil between the realms of the living and the dead had been momentarily torn apart, allowing me a glimpse into the chilling encounters that lay beyond. To this day, I cannot forget the harrowing experience. The haunted highways of night continue to haunt my dreams, a constant reminder of the thin line that separates our world from the unknown horrors that lurk just beyond the veil.
I was driving on a dark road one night, surrounded by thick woods. The moon hid behind heavy clouds, leaving me with only the dim glow of my headlights to guide me. The air was heavy and still, and an eerie silence hung in the atmosphere. As I pressed on the accelerator, my heart began to race. Shadows danced on the edges of my vision, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching me from the darkness. I kept my eyes fixed on the road ahead, determined to reach my destination. Suddenly, a figure appeared in my headlights. It was a woman, dressed in a tattered white gown, standing at the side of the road. She looked lost and disheveled, her eyes hollow and lifeless. A shiver ran down my spine as I slowed down, instinctively cautious. I rolled down the window and called out to her, asking if she needed help. But she remained silent, her gaze fixed on something beyond my sight. A chill wind blew through the open window, carrying with it a faint whisper that sent shivers down my spine. Reluctantly, I reached out to touch her shoulder, but as my hand made contact, she vanished into thin air. My heart pounded in my chest, and I could feel the hairs on the back of my neck stand on end. The supernatural had unveiled itself, and I was caught in its grip. Determined to uncover the truth, I continued down the desolate road. The eerie silence seemed to thicken as I drove deeper into the night. My mind played tricks on me, conjuring images of ghostly apparitions and spectral beings lurking just beyond the reach of my headlights. A sudden flicker caught my attention, a small flickering light in the distance. Intrigued, I approached cautiously, my eyes fixed on the mesmerizing glow. It grew brighter with each passing moment, drawing me closer and closer. As I got nearer, I realized it was a derelict gas station, its neon sign barely illuminating the area. The building looked ancient, as if frozen in time. Reluctantly, I parked my car and stepped out, the crunch of gravel beneath my shoes breaking the haunting silence. Inside, the air smelled of decay and dust, the shelves empty and forgotten. I wandered through the eerie aisles, my hands trembling with each step. Strange whispers echoed through the empty space, taunting and haunting me. In the corner of the room, I discovered an old photo album, covered in a thick layer of dust. I opened it slowly, revealing faded photographs of people long gone. Faces distorted and twisted, the images sent a chill down my spine. It was as if the spirits of the dead were reaching out to me, their silent screams etched into the pages. With each turn of the page, the horror grew, and I felt a presence closing in on me. Suddenly, the lights flickered, casting long shadows across the room. Panic gripped my heart as I realized I was no longer alone. Whispers turned into agonizing screams, and the apparitions from the photographs materialized before my eyes. Their ghostly figures floated in the air, their eyes filled with malice and despair. I stumbled backward, my mind reeling with fear. In a desperate attempt to escape, I sprinted towards the exit. The spirits pursued me, their ethereal forms gliding through the air with unnatural grace. The once quiet road now echoed with their anguished wails, driving me to the brink of insanity. With a final burst of adrenaline, I burst through the gas station doors, gasping for breath. The spirits vanished as quickly as they had appeared, leaving me shaken and disoriented. I stumbled back to my car, vowing never to return to that accursed place. As I drove away, my headlights cast long shadows on the desolate road. The supernatural secrets of the nighttime roads remained, lurking in the darkness, waiting for another unsuspecting soul to unravel their horrors. I never believed in ghosts or supernatural beings. To me, they were just stories people told to scare each other. But that all changed one fateful night when I found myself driving on a desolate road, alone, with nothing but the headlights illuminating my path. The night was pitch black, and the wind whispered through the trees, creating an eerie atmosphere. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest as I gripped the steering wheel tightly. There was an unsettling silence, broken only by the sound of my car engine and the occasional hoot of an owl in the distance. As I continued down the road, the headlights revealed strange shapes in the surrounding woods. Shadows danced and twisted, giving the impression of lurking figures. My rational mind tried to dismiss it as a trick of the light, but a shiver ran down my spine nonetheless. Suddenly, the engine sputtered, and the headlights flickered for a moment before dimming. Panic surged through me as the car came to a halt. I frantically tried to start it again, but it remained lifeless. My phone had no signal, leaving me completely stranded in the darkness. As I stepped out of the car, a sense of foreboding washed over me. The woods felt alive, as if they were watching my every move. I walked a few steps forward, my footsteps echoing through the night. That's when I heard it, a soft, distant whisper, barely audible. Fear gripped me, but curiosity pushed me forward. I followed the sound, each step filled with trepidation. The whisper grew louder, and I realized it wasn't just one voice, but many, overlapping and intertwining, creating an eerie chorus of disembodied whispers. My heart raced as I came across a clearing bathed in pale moonlight. In the center stood an old, abandoned house. Its windows were shattered, and the paint was peeling off its decaying walls. The whispers emanated from within, drawing me closer with an irresistible pull. I entered cautiously, my breath catching in my throat. The air was heavy with the scent of dampness and decay. The whispers grew louder, surrounding me from all directions. I followed their guidance, climbing the creaking stairs to an upper room. As I reached the top, I froze in terror. The room was filled with flickering candlelight, casting eerie shadows on the walls. In the center stood a group of ethereal figures, their transparent forms illuminated by the dancing flames. The whispers grew into desperate pleas, urging me to listen. They spoke of lost souls trapped in this realm, yearning for release. Each figure had a tale of tragedy and despair, bound to this house and its dark history. Trembling, I listened to their stories, feeling their pain and anguish. They shared their supernatural secrets of the nighttime roads, revealing the tragedies that had befallen them and others who had dared to travel this path. Suddenly, a gust of wind extinguished the candles, plunging the room into darkness. The whispers ceased, and the figures vanished before my eyes. I was left alone, trembling and haunted by the knowledge I had acquired. As I made my way back to the car, I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. The headlights flickered back to life, casting an eerie glow on the road ahead. I drove away, forever changed by the encounter with the supernatural. From that day forward, I became a believer in the things that go bump in the night. The headlights of horror had unraveled the secrets of the nighttime roads, and I was left to ponder the existence of a world beyond our own. A world of spirits and specters, lurking in the shadows, waiting for their stories to be heard.